Friday Night Fights on the Deuce. James Lights Out Toney, former two-time world champion as a middleweight and super middleweight, now fighting as a cruiserweight, takes on former cruiserweight champion Adolpho Washington. That coming up in tonight's main event here from the Foxwoods Resort Casino in Mashantucket, Connecticut. Very interesting matchup as we size it up for you. The main event feature. In 1991, Ring Magazine voted James Lights Out Toney the fighter of the year. And you could not argue the case, because in Iowa, in the 11th round, one punch would take out Michael Nunn and give Toney the IBF middleweight championship. He would make 6 title defenses before defeating Iran Barkley for the IBF super middleweight crown. Toney would defend his title against Tony Thornton, Tim Littles, and he would knock out Prince Charles Williams. But then he took on a young, brash Roy Jones Jr., and Toney would suffer the first loss of his professional career, losing a lopsided 12-round decision. After the loss to Jones, he squared off against Montel Griffin. And again, Toney came out on the short end of the stick, losing another 12-round decision. But James Lights Out Toney realized that he had the makings of a champion once again. He continues his climb back with Roy Jones set in his sights.
He's the first one on my mind, because I have to live with this every day. I let the guy beat me, which he should have never had. He should never have beaten me that night. Never. But you know what, I didn't do what I had to do, so he won the fight fair and square. I ain't crying about it. Never have, never will.
Toney continues to piece back together his career. In March of this year, he scored an 8th-round knockout of Terry Porter. James Toney has a lot of confidence, and he doesn't feel his lights are out.
I'm still one of the best fighters out there, pound for pound. You know, I had a little misdirection there because I had a lot of personal problems. That's all cleared up now, you know. And the only thing I can say, I still fight all the best fighters out there. I've never ducked nobody. You know, a lot of the fighters out there today can't even say that. Including Roy Jones and Oscar De La Hoya, they can't say they fought the guys I fought. I fought the best fighters in every class I've been in. And I've never ducked nobody and never will. Only thing I turned down is my collar, and I don't do that sometimes.
Toney gets another former world champion tonight in Adolpho, Washington. He is the former IBF Cruiserweight champion of the world. Washington has 27 career wins. He's fought all the best in the Cruiserweight division. He feels that weight is on his side tonight.
He has a lot of skills, but, you know, this is Cruiserweight, so that's where all the skills go out the window and, you know, men take over. This is not 68, 60 pounds. This is my weight. This is where I fight at. So he can't bullcrap himself through half the round and left, and he's gonna have to fight. He's gonna have to prove to me that he won't win the fight.
Well, that is tonight's main event. James Toney and Adolpho Washington. Washington obviously feels comfortable as the cruiserweight. Toney is moving up, and Washington feels he has Toney exactly where he wants him. Well, some interesting things to watch out for tonight in our main event as we take you into Atlas's world.
Tonight, when James Toney takes on Adolpho Washington, it will be a collision of 2 former world champions. For Toney, notice how he touches his forehead with his glove. That's a bad subconscious habit that he hasn't broken from wearing headgear in the gym. That could allow him to be hit if Washington can properly time it. Toney is a good counterpuncher. Here he makes his opponent miss and counters with a straight, hard right. As a veteran of 62 fights, he's experienced and calm. Watch how he fakes the right, then throws the hook. He's a cutie and will take advantage of his ring savvy. For Washington, the former IBF Cruiserweight champion, he must be careful not to leave his jab hanging too long. If he does, Toney, the quicker man, is sure to counter with rights. When Toney covers up in front, Adolpho should try to move as he does here. This will allow him openings to land the left hook, right-hand combo. If he can't do that, it could be lights out in favor of Toney.
All right, those are some of the things to watch for tonight. Now, Teddy, we saw in the videotape of James Toney tapping his head. I'm Toney, you're Washington. Explain how Washington will capitalize when Toney, in his position, does one of these.
Well, bang, bang. While you're doing that, you can't block and you can't punch. So I know I got a free ride right in.
Okay, now we go to the other side. I'm Adolpho Washington. You're James Toney. One of the things Washington will do, as you mentioned, is after he throws a punch, he'll either pose or he'll step back. What will Toney do?
You got to get out of range, but he doesn't get out of range. So, of course, Toney can come right back, right here with the left hand. And, of course, he can follow with the right hand, but I don't want to hit you with the microphone.
No, because it is pointed. But those are some of the things to watch out for in tonight's main event. Now let's take a look at the fighters, Adolpho Washington and James Lights Out Toney. There is Adolpho Washington, 5'11", 31 years of age, out of Lexington, Kentucky. He weighed in at 199 pounds. He is 27-7, 2 draws, and 16 knockouts. He is the former IBF Cruiserweight Champion of the world, Adolpho Washington. And James Lights Out Toney, a former 2-time world champion, also a USBA champion as well. 5'10", 30 years of age, 197 pounds. He is 56-4-2 with 36 knockouts. But the thing you should know about Toney, this is only his second fight in the last 25 months. He took all of 1998 off, had a tune-up in March of this year, and now he's taking on the very tough Adolpho Washington in tonight's main event.
Fight. Obey my commands at all times. I just want to mention these trunks a little high. It's good right in here. Shake hands.
No 3 knockdown rule, no standing 8 count. Fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. Referee or doctor can stop the fight. Accidental cuts, they'll go to the scorecards after 4 rounds are complete. And we begin round number 1.
Toney, trying to show you he's coming to war, comes with Army fatigue shorts. Watching video of Adolpho Washington, Bob, one thing that I noticed I saw is he has what we call in the trade old legs. It's going to be up to Toney to land some on the potato, on the chin of Adolpho, and see if those legs are a little bit like spaghetti now, because they just have that stiff old look.
Washington has 1 win in the last 3 years. He's 1-4. Last fought on June the 5th in Frankfurt. A technical loss in 9 rounds to Torsten Mai, the former German Olympian. Mai was cut in round 2, right eye accidental cut. He was ahead on the cards when they stopped the fight. He has losses to Orland Norris, Arthur Williams, and Uriah Grant. The only win against Art Jimerson. Toney coming off a March 7th win in Arizona, an 8th round stoppage of Terry Porter. Toney weighed a robust 203 pounds, Teddy. 43 pounds over the weight in which he first won a title.
So of course, he's not growing anymore at the age of 30, so you can't say he's filling out. That's just obviously work ethic or lack of work ethic and lack of discipline as far as keeping your weight down. He can get away with it to a certain extent because he's cute. He knows how to fight. He's solid technically. Good hand speed is still there. Matter of fact, when he steps up in weight, his hand speed will be even better because the other guys aren't going to be as fast. They're just going to be a little stronger. But being that he's slick, he can deal with that because he was never a walk-in guy. He was always a guy who was real smart. Always looking to counter. Defensively, very solid. Very adept.
Teddy, weight has really been a problem for both of these guys. When Washington lost to Arthur Williams back in '98 and Uriah Grant, he had to lose 2 and 3 pounds on the day of the fight just to make the weight to fight for the USBA and IBF titles respectively.
The work ethic for both these guys have hounded them, have haunted them, have kept them from maybe being really special, or obviously have hindered them when they in some of their problems in their careers, as far as when they've had their couple of losses, especially as you said with Adolpho Washington. 2 of his losses, as you said, he had to lose weight at the weigh-in, which is just work ethic. And if he had to lose 2 pounds, that means he was probably 8, 9 pounds over.
fairly even first round. Here tonight to see James Toney and Adolpho Washington in this 10-round cruiserweight bout. Round number 2 underway. Toney in the camouflage, Washington in the black. Punch numbers in round number 1. And you see that Toney landed 4 more punches, landed some of the better shots in that round. Good left hand to the body.
That right hand count has been effective early on. Now Toney's turning southpaw, but he just for a second went right back. You better watch he doesn't switch right in front of Washington. While he's switching his legs, he can get caught because he's not ready to defend. But Toney's been effective with that right hand counter when Washington has left that jab out a little too long.
Blood from the nose of Washington.
You can see Toney wants to work to that body. He's going to the head just to pick up the arm of Washington and then bringing that quick, short left hook back to the body. He's real good at that.
Hey, we've seen as Toney has obviously grown in weight over the last 3 years or so, 4 years, that he'll settle for inactivity for the better part of rounds and then look to steal rounds against lesser opposition. It seemed to me that if Adolpho Washington makes a commitment to go for 2.5 minutes of each round and pressure Toney, he'll have a chance to win this fight.
But the only thing is that Toney is still a slick guy. He makes you miss and he counters. And that takes away a lot of the pressure. Adolfo's trying to pressure, but he's getting caught with those counters in between. And that's going to make him a little tentative. That's going to hold him in his tracks a little bit. Right now, he's able, as you said, he's able to be effective here. But right now, Toney's not falling back. And Toney does that sometimes. Sometimes he gets a little bit too involved in his defense. He makes the guy miss, but sometimes he admires it a little bit too much. And he can be out-hustled. That's what happened, I believe, in the Montel Griffith fights. Even though they were real close fights. Defensively, he got so involved in making the guy miss that he forgot to come back sometimes. He admired his work a little bit too much. Right now, he's doing that.
This is not normally something you would compliment a guy for, but Toney is a very effective flat-footed fighter, almost back on his heels.
You know why, Bob? Because he moves his head real well. If he went back and he didn't move his head, he would not be effective. He moves his head. He's real good defensively. The only thing is, sometimes he make the guy miss, and as I said before, doesn't always come back. Sometimes that could be just from lacking the discipline to do it, being a little lazy. And there could be a reason for that. When you're heavy, sometimes you're looking to conserve your energy, or you're just being lazy. Because if you're lacking the discipline to keep your weight down, you probably lack the discipline to punch back consistently when you make a guy miss. They work together.
Washington trying to pressure Toney near the end of round 2.
Thinking about...
Well, look at that. I think he was about the age of 7. That young man would become trainer of a heavyweight champion of the world, Teddy Atlas. Yesterday, you celebrated your birthday. Do you care to give us the number?
Somebody's in trouble in that picture. Jet, I can tell you.
Mr. Jet, do you care to give us the number?
You better right now. You better lock the doors. You better go somewhere. Somebody's in trouble.
Well, happy birthday.
I'm 43. Thank you.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Cute little kid. What happened?
I'm going to find out who released that picture. That's what's happening right now.
Well, I'll take a guess. She treats you very well. Round number 3 underway between James Toney and Adolpho Washington. Punch numbers in round 2, and you see that Toney a little bit more effective, a little bit more accurate. If you're Washington, Teddy, what's your game plan right now?
Well, you better go to the body. You better use the jab, because Toney's not an easy guy to hit. He moves his head, as we were talking about before. That's why he's able to fight flat-footed. You brought it up. That's why he can get away with it, because of that. He moves his head and then he counters back. You have to go to the body, so not only you land something, you don't leave yourself open. You go to the head like that, and the guy's making you miss. You're leaving yourself open for counters. You get away with it sometimes because, as we said before, Toney sometimes doesn't consistently throw back. He likes to make you miss, but sometimes he lets you get away with it. Early in his career, when he was a middleweight, he didn't let you get away with it too often. Of course, he had a pretty good teacher back in those days. Bill Miller did a heck of a job, Bill Miller from Detroit, with him as a middleweight. And now, of course, Toney has a pretty good teacher in his corner now as a cruiserweight with Freddie Roach.